And in addition, if you noticed yesterday, there was a very interesting story about the Inspector General of the AmeriCorps group gets hundreds of millions of dollars of our tax dollars to force people to serve the country voluntarily, so to speak, in this AmeriCorps group. And the Inspector General was doing his job, and Kevin Johnson, a former NBA basketball player, now mayor of Sacramento, California, they discovered that he was misappropriating funds, allegedly. And Obama fired the Inspector General who was investigating him. So we can see which side he's on with regard to that. Card check is very, very dangerous. It gives the ability then for folks to be able to intimidate you, you know, when your vote is exposed. And this is Chicago politics at its very best. And it's all the way up and down. See, this is what I'm saying, folks. I say this all the time. We have, as conservatives, been mocked. Look at what they did to Sarah Palin this weekend. You know, and you may have political differences with Sarah Palin, but this is a strong, independent woman who has an opinion, who has been absolutely rolled under a steamroller. The double standard by the mainstream media is ridiculous. It's offensive. And when we stand up, I wish sometimes I could show you some of the hate mail I get, but I love it. But it's time that we stop fearing that and standing up, because if we don't, then it's going to come to the thugs at your door. And we don't want to get to that point. One more, because I don't want to keep everybody here. Let me do two here. One in here. Go ahead.
Leland, I'm going to ask you a pretty hard question here. And it's probably the most politically incorrect question you're going to get. There are many of those who believe that our country can't handle 4 years of Barack Obama. What he has done in little over 100 days has literally changed our country from what it was. And all you got to do is just turn on the radio and TV daily, and it seems like every day we're getting something new added onto this. Whether it basically be, taxing farmers more because of the methane gas their cows emit even. It's something every day. And the hard question is this. What is the point at which we as Americans go from becoming law-abiding citizens who basically pay our taxes and work hard for what we have, to those Americans who will be considered outlaws because we have said, no, we are not going to obey this law. It is unconstitutional. I will not do that because it is unconstitutional. Leland, me and my son and my dad, when we joined the military, we took a vow to protect our Constitution from all threats, foreign and domestic. When I joined up, it was easy. It was Russia. The Russian bear in 1982 was a threat. Today, the threat is not from an outside, well, it is, but to me, the biggest threat is not from an outside power. It's from what's going on in Washington.
I got a date for you.
These are good, and I believe the Tea Parties are worth their while. But there will come a point, I believe, if things don't happen quickly, that the problem will become to the point to where political appointees and people getting in will not be able to act fast enough. And I want to ask you the question, in 1775, our founding fathers had good jobs, they had good homes, they had families, they had things worth living for, but yet they were willing to give up their lives in a second for their belief. At what point do you believe would come the point to where we as Americans in this particular conservative party would say, I will become a criminal and I will break the law because of what I know is right?
Mark this date on your calendar, 9/12/2009. And let's see how they react to that. I'm not a person that advocates revolution in arms today, but if we don't stand up today, then we'll have to tomorrow. So let's see what happens on 9/12. Let's get 1 million people in Washington, D.C., and let's put the fear of God in them. I got one more back here.
That was a little tough to follow, but sir, thank you for your service to this country.
Could you please? Yes. How many other veterans do we have here today? Raise your hand. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. God bless you. Can you ask something politically correct, please?
Well, it may be or may not be, depending on who you ask. But Governor Beshear says he's not in the mood to raise any more taxes than he already has. So to take him at his word, I think that begs the question, what does he plan to cut from the supposedly overstrained budget that we have?
He's talking about and David, you might know this, a 4% across the board cut. 3.5%, which is not good enough. We don't need an across the board cut. We need to cut wasteful programs. When you guys are calling the governor, and this is kind of what I'm going to leave you with, I'm glad you asked that question because, again, we talk about national stuff a little bit today. It all comes back right here, right now. And on Tuesday, when I go to the governor on Tuesday with the Economic Bill of Rights, I would love for thousands of people to have already called him and said, please put that on the special session agenda. And please consider cutting wasteful programs. I think they ought to cut government workers' pay across the board. I think they ought to cut their benefits. You know, you and I work in a private world. I'm lucky to have a job in the business that I work in. A lot of you guys are lucky. Some of you have had to take pay cuts. I've had to take a little bit of a pay cut to keep doing what I'm doing. Why not the public sector, since they get the money? So I think there ought to be a government pay cut.
Right on.
So it ought to be more than just 3.5% across the board. There's some programs we can get. And I don't want to get into a really, really long, drawn-out explanation, but look into this for me. Look into prevailing wage. And when you figure out what's in that mess, you call those people. And this is a hornet's nest. This is a hornet's nest. But we start standing up about that, there's hundreds of millions of dollars this state can save because we're overpaying people for so-called prevailing wage. It's not prevailing wage. It's prevailing wage plus 10. And there's a lot of money we can save there. So cut wasteful programs, not across the board cuts. So call them, and when you call them, say that. So one more, and then we'll be done.
Where is Ehrlichia?
The question was, where is Ehrlichia? Yeah, I met her at Georgetown. That was pretty cool. Well, she bought a car from one of our sponsors, from Patriot Automotive.
Chicken biscuit eating contest.
Yeah. What's that? Home studying the dictionary. She's a lot of fun. You know, that's just proof that we're a fun-loving group of people and we accept other points of view. We just don't have to affirm them, right? All right, we can live with you, we can tolerate you, we don't have to affirm your point of view. Thank you. Yeah, one more. Since you organized the event.
What's going on Wednesday at noon?
Wednesday at noon, would you please join us at the Capitol, because this will be a great follow-up to meeting with the governor on Tuesday. We will either have good news, bad news, or indifferent news, but either way, none of us will be indifferent. Would you tell 10 people that you know, come to Frankfort? We need an impressive showing, because there would be nothing more powerful than after some right-wing nutjob radio show host shows up with 5 stupid ideas for a bunch of people to show up and saying, those stupid ideas aren't stupid, let's do it. So come on out to the Capitol steps, noon on Wednesday. Thank you guys for coming out today. God bless you, everyone. God bless America.
Hey, wait a minute, Leland. I got one thing here for you. We got a gift for you to thank you for showing up, coming out to all these tea parties. As the executive director of Leave the Earth Alone Forever, we have the official hat here for him. So thank you, Leland. I want to thank everybody for coming out today.